So I'd just like to give him a warm welcome. It's a pleasure having you here, Srikumar.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. And after that ovation, I better deliver something of value, right? I have a vision for each one of you. And the vision I have for you is that when you wake up in the morning, your blood is singing at the thought of being who you are and doing what you do. That as you go through the day, you can literally sink to your knees in gratitude at the tremendous good fortune that's been bestowed on you. That as you go through the day, you become radiantly alive several times. And if your life isn't like that, I'd like to humbly suggest that you're wasting your life. And life is too short to be wasted. So what I propose to do in the next 17 minutes, I've used up 1 minute already, is to give you a set of powerful tools which can get you started on being there. Is that of interest to you? Yes. Okay. This is a conference on happiness, but even if it wasn't a conference on happiness, would it be right if I said that in some way, shape, fashion, or form, you're devoting your entire life to being happy? Everything that you do, your job, family, children, relationships, whatever, is a quest for happiness, correct? I'd like you to think about the following. What do you have to get in order to be happy? We're just going to spend a minute on this. What do you have to get in order to be happy? Anybody quick? When I conduct this experiment, a bunch of stuff comes up. Oh, vast wealth, trophy spouse, good health, lots of travel, time, etc., etc., etc. Right now, if you were to think about it, you probably have a list of, here's what I need to get in order to be happy. I would like you to consider this. Anything that you can get. Let me repeat that. Anything that you can get, you can unget. Is that correct? So if vast wealth can make you happy, vast wealth can disappear tomorrow. Correct? A number of people in the financial sector have discovered this already. So whatever you get can that can make you happy can go away. Where does that leave you? Not in a very nice place, right? I have a different proposition to suggest to you. And what I have to suggest to you is that there is nothing that you have to get, do, or be in order to be happy. Let me repeat that. There is nothing that you have to get, do, or be in order to be happy. In fact, happiness is your innate nature. It is hardwired into you. It is part of your DNA. You cannot not be happy. Now, all of you are very polite, and in some of the other forums I speak in, such as top business schools, they're not so polite, and invariably somebody articulates what many of you are thinking, which is, if happiness is my innate nature, how come I am not experiencing it? How come I am experiencing my life sucks? And the answer to that is actually very simple. You have spent your entire life learning to be unhappy. Let me repeat that. You have spent your entire life learning to be unhappy. And the way we learn to be unhappy is by buying into a particular mental model. A mental model is a notion that we have that this is the way the world works, and all of us have mental models. We've got dozens of mental models. We've got mental models on how to find a job, how to get ahead at work, how to pick a restaurant to eat at, how to have a movie to go to, dozens of them. The problem isn't that we have mental models. The problem is that we don't know that we have mental models. We think this is the way the world works. And the more we invest in a mental model, the more it appears that this, in fact, is the way the world works. But it isn't. It's just a mental model. And the mental model we have that we buy into so strongly is that we have to get something so we can do something so we can be something. Like we have to get a great deal of money so we can travel to exotic places so we can be happy. We have to be in a relationship so we can have great sex so we can be happy. All of this is a variation of the if-then model. And the if-then model is, if this happens, then we will be happy. If I were to get a better job, if I were to get more money, if my boss would have a heart attack, if only I could get married, if only I was married, if only my wife would leave me, if only I had children, if my children would grow up and go to college. It doesn't matter what it is. The whole notion is, if this happens, then I will be happy. And right now, the only thing that's different between the persons in this audience is what is the particular if that you are focusing on. And the only thing that's different between you now and where you were 10 years ago is what is the particular if that you are focusing on. Think about your life 10 years ago. Spend a minute doing that. And 10 years ago, if you remember clearly, there were certain things you wanted. Is that correct? Odds are pretty good that many of those things you wanted 10 years ago you now have. Is that correct? Where has that left you? In exactly the same place, right? What we don't realize is the model itself is flawed. The if-then model, if this happens, I will be happy, the model itself is flawed. But instead of recognizing that it is the model itself that's flawed, what we do is we spend enormous amount of time changing the if. Oh, well, I thought that if I became CEO, it would help. But now I realize it's not that I want to become a CEO. I want to become the billionaire CEO, and then I will be happy. You got your own variation of that. Pick on that. But it's the model itself that's flawed, not what you put on the if side of the equation. And I can demonstrate that to you. Can any of you recall a time when you were confronted with a scene of such spectacular beauty that it took you outside of yourself into a place of great serenity? Maybe a rainbow, a mountain range, a valley, the sea. And if you remember that, raise your hands if you could. Virtually all of you could, right? Have you ever wondered why that happened? The reason that happened is that somehow, for some reason, at that instant, you accepted the universe exactly as it was. You didn't say, that's a beautiful rainbow, but it's kind of off to the left, and if I could move it 200 yards to the right, it would be ever so much beautiful. You didn't say, that's a beautiful valley, but the tree in the foreground has too many crooked branches, so if you gave me a chainsaw in 20 minutes, I'd make it ever so much better. Oh no, the rainbow off center was just fine. The tree with its crooked branches was just fine. And the moment you accepted the universe just as it was, your habitual wanting self dropped away, and the happiness, which is your innate nature, surfaced, and you felt it. And I know you felt it because now, even now, after all those years, you can still remember it. The problem is that your life right now, with all of the problems that you have, more precisely, all of the problems that you think you have, is equally perfect. But you do not accept it. In fact, you're spending all your time striving with might and main to make it different. You are not accepting it. And when you're not accepting it, you're buying into the if-then model. If this happens, then I will be happy. And it's the model itself that is flawed. So let me show you how you can get out of that, or at least you can begin the steps towards getting out of that.